Good afternoon, and welcome to this week's Claritysoft training webinar. This week's webinar is on end-of-year reporting. And what we're going to cover today are some different types of reports that you can do in Claritysoft and give you some tips on how to set up your reports. Our goal today is to demonstrate ideas for how to create the year-end reports. We will look at reviewing your data in the database by creating views or filters so that you can say, I want to see all of my opportunities that were won for 2018, and then you can review that information before you go to create the report. And then we'll create a couple of reports, we'll create some dashboards, and we will create one Excel report. So you will get a smattering of everything today on how to get different reports out of your database. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. The first one that we're going to look at today is leads. In the leads module, doing a report on the leads, the number of leads that were created in 2018 grouped by the owner. So I'm going to go to the leads module. And first of all, what I'd like to do is check the data. Now, this is something really important. Before you start to run your reports, you want to make sure that your data is as accurate as possible. So you want to have your sales team check their information, make sure dates are correct, and make sure all the information is filled in, so that no matter what kind of filters you do, your information is going to come out correctly. So that would be a first step to do. And then to run a sample test to make sure things are correct and double check it, you can create a filter and then view your data with the filter that you plan to use in your report. So what I'm going to do here in leads is I'm going to go to advanced search, and I'm going to set a time filter for the creation date, because I want to know how many new leads were created this past year. Now, up until now, I would tell you to do year to date or this 1 year, because it would then continue to roll forward. So if I did do that, if I selected year to date and I did this filter, then this filter will be good for 2018 until the end of December 31st. And then as soon as January 1st comes along, it rolls over into 2019. So probably for a lot of your reports that you want to do for the end of the year, you actually want to set a fixed date range, because you want to lock it in so that if you run the report on January 1st or January 5th or January 15th of 2019, it's looking back to only 2018. And then you can save things with that, indication that this is a filter or this is a report for 2018 only. So most of the time, like I said, I would run, tell you to use one of these here that roll forward with you throughout the year or from month to month. But in this case, I'm going to say we want to put in a fixed date range. So you can click here. I've been practicing with this, so it knows I want 1/1/2018, so I'm just put it in. And my ending is December 31st. So I want this fixed range for this particular view or filter that I'm creating. So I now have that. I have my creation date showing over here. And I've not been a very good sales person this year, nor has the sales team. We've only got 12 new leads. So that's what happens when you're using sample data. So anyway, I have my 12 people. So this is what I should get if I create the report. Okay. Now, if I want to, I could save this view and say 2018 new leads created. So that again, if somebody still creates some new leads between now and the end of the month, I'm still going to pick them up. and they would come out in my report as well. So that's creating a view. Again, if you've been in some of the previous webinars, we've covered this where you can create as many views as you like, save them, and then you just pick them when you're ready for them. When you do this, you must use the advanced search, okay? This is the one that allows you to save the view once you create it, all right? So I have my view. I know I'm going to get 12 records out of this leads module. So now I'm going to go to reports to actually create my report. So I come up here and I do new report, and I'm going to select the leads module. And then you just simply click save here. It does not ask you for a name. It's just making the connection to the leads module. Then I get to pick, well, what type of report do I want? Well, in this case, what I would like to do is I would like to show the new leads per owner. You know, who were the people that were generating the new leads? So I would like to create a summary report. That allows me to group. A tabular report just is a long list that you can sort, but this one allows you to group by the owner. A time report, we're going to do one of these. We're going to do a sales report. That's a time-based report here in a few minutes. So my next step is to select the fields that I want to come out. So let's say I want to know the company name, and I can hold the control key down and click on the fields over here. I can put the creation date. I definitely want the owner, and maybe what status. So you may pick as many fields as you want, and then you push them over here. I'm going to take owner and move it to the top because I want to group by the owner, and that looks fine. So I'm going to come to group columns, select owner, and I don't have any numeric fields, so it doesn't ask me about adding anything up, but I do want to get a count. So I want to click in this checkbox here. And then summary of columns, again, because I do not have a numeric field, it can't add anything up. And here I get to set my filter criteria. If I didn't set anything here, I would get all my leads forever coming out, okay? Well, I only want the ones that were created in 2018. So this is the same filter I just set up in the leads module. So I'm going to choose creation date, and I'm going to put in my fixed date range again because I don't want this to roll forward when it hits January 1 of 2019. So there is a reason for having this fixed date range, okay? And then if I want to, I can add a chart to this. So my x-axis would be my owner. My y-axis, what I want here, I want a count of how many new leads have come in. So if I pick the company name, I'm probably pretty close on getting the count. And then I select the function of count. Here I can select the chart type. I'll do a column chart. And the position, you can have it at the top or the bottom. And then you can have it on a new sheet or on the same sheet. So I'm going to put it at the top above the report itself. And then I click Save. Put a report name, and then I can select a folder to put it in. I have created my own reports folder, so I'm going to put it in that, but you could put it into the leads folder that's already there. Just try to keep mine a little clearer. So I've created my report. I scroll all the way to the bottom, and here it is. So when you first click on it, you get a preview to show you that you are indeed getting data, okay? And then you come up here to the upper right and click the download button, and you can download to Excel, CSV, or PDF file. Well, I want to go to Excel, and then it shows up down here on the lower left. And here's my report. And then I can click Enable Editing up here. So I have at the very top the two people who created these 12 leads, and then I see a chart representing how many each one created, and then down here I can see that Kelly Sales had 2 new leads and Susan had 10, and it gives me a grand total of 12, which is exactly what I came up with in my leads module when I ran the filter there. So by doing the filter ahead of time in the module, it just helps you know that your report matches and that at least those two things are correct. But again, like I said, have people go back and check everything. Now with the creation date, you're kind of done because the creation date field is a timestamp field that the computer timestamps, and there's nothing you can do to change it. Another thing I will mention here, this is new, and so you won't see the results of this right now. Let me go back to leads. We added probably in the last, I don't know, 2-3 months, a conversion date field in the leads record. And what that does for you is when you convert a lead, it will put a date with that lead so that you know when you converted it. And this follows this record throughout the database. Anything you can see here, it was active in October because I have this one here has a conversion date, but all these other ones that are older records do not have it. So starting in 2019, you can make this conversion date field visible and then start to use it for reports. So you could, run some reports based upon when you created the record and when you converted the record and start to get some statistics that way. So I just wanted to mention that to everyone, that is now available to you, and it again will go throughout the database. There's also an opportunity conversion date, a quotation conversion date, etc. So if you want to see this, you need to go to settings and your customization, and then your user interface template. Go to the Leads UI template, and depending on how long ago you set these up, you may not have the base template set, so go to the access profile that you use, and then you'll see over in this available fields column, this conversion date field will be over here, and all you need to do is grab it and push it onto your screen where you want it to be, and then it will show up. So that's available. I wanted to make sure I mentioned that, and then you can run reports based upon the conversion date when records were converted. So that's something to consider for 2019. Okay. So that's report number 1. The next one I wanted to do in the reports module was to do sales and group them by month so that you could see what your sales are per month. So this one, we're going to go to the sales module. And again, if you want to create a view ahead of time just to see, what sales you had in 2018, I already created a view here, order date 2018. So if I click on this, it's looking for an order date that was in 2018, and I have 16 records, okay? And that's my total value. It's the $279,000. So that, again, lets me check, make sure everything's set up correctly. You'd want to check maybe your status of your sale. I don't have that field up here. So again, check all your fields, make sure everything is correct and set up the way it needs to be for the kinds of reports that you want to run. So let's go to reports and new report. This time we're going to select the sales module. And we're going to do a time-based report. This is one that gets ignored quite often. People don't think about using this one necessarily, so I thought it might be a good one to pull up today just to give you some ideas. All right, so I'm going to do columns. And again, I probably want the account. See, here's that lead conversion date here. And an ID that gets created. So that is here and available that you can see when you converted the lead and then when you created the sale. So that's another tracking type of mechanism. The subtotal terms, again, you decide. You'll notice here there's a total and a subtotal. The difference is the subtotal is the amount of the sale without tax and without shipping. The total includes tax and shipping. So if you aren't sure what that is, that's what that means. Maybe I want the state just for the heck of it. So I have the account, the state they're in, the order date. I'm going to group this by the order date. Subtotal. Again, if you have, sale rep, that's probably who else I want. You know, any fields that you know you might want to see, you can pull them in. And if you have custom fields, your custom fields will be down here at the bottom part of the list underneath that label of custom fields. So make sure you scroll all the way down. So any fields can be pulled in. I'm going to group this by, and notice because it's a time-based report, it's not letting me group by the field as normally does. It's letting me group by day, week, month, quarter, or year. Well, I'm going to do it by month, and I have a subtotal, which is a value, so I can get a sum of my subtotal, and I can also get a count of my records. And then the summary now, I can get a grand total of my amount, sales amount. And then filter criteria, I can come here and I want to select the order date. Notice here, lead conversion date, opportunity conversion date, quote conversion date. So you'll notice these now in your database when you start to look at these date filters. So that's why they're there. It's something that the system automatically tracks, and like I said, you need to go to your user interface templates and make them visible. Again, date range, I want it to be a fixed date range of January 1st to December 31st. And I can do a save. So this is going to be 2018 sales, and again, I'm going to stick it in my folder. Scroll all the way down here. And so here's my preview. And then I'm going to do my download. Here we go. Whoops. So I have my title up here. And then I have each month. It's broken down by month. It shows me that in January I had one sale, and in February I had one. I'm a pretty bad salesperson. So it goes month by month. And notice for each one it's giving you a subtotal for the month. And now at the bottom it's giving you that grand total of the 279,227, which is what we saw in the sales module, and there's a total of 16 records. So again, because I did that filter ahead of time, I know that my report is working correctly because I am getting the same numbers. So that's always helpful. So there's breaking it down by month and using that time-based grouping in a report rather than the summary. So I thought that might be interesting for people to see because, especially for a year-end type thing, it's helpful, you know, to see by month what you're doing. All right, moving forward, let's create some dashboards because dashboards are very good to view things and show you in a picture format. So in your dashboards, if you haven't used dashboards yet, when you go there, there will be nothing here. It'll be completely blank screen. So you come over here to the vertical ellipsis And you click on this and go to settings, and then you're going to get a list of the different dashboards. This is the same list that you see on the home screen. So if you haven't delved into dashboards yet, you'll get a little bit of a taste here. So I want to create a dashboard. I currently have one here, which is sales by sales rep year to date. So when this one rolls over into 2019, it's going to reset itself because I have it just on the year to date. I could go in and modify this one and change the filter to be 2018. But I also, what I want to do is create another dashboard that is showing the sales by sales rep for 2018 by percent of the sales, who had the largest percentage of the sales. So that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to create a new dashboard, and you, again, like your reports, you have different tabs up here, and the first one, that's the most important one, is your data series. Where is your information coming from? It's going to come from the sales module. Then the value properties would be your y-axis, your vertical axis. So what we want here is a function. You can choose a value or a function. Most of the time you pick a function, and then you select what function. I want the sum of, and then I select the data field that I want the sum of. Well, again, I could have either my subtotal or my total. Well, if I do not want to include shipping and taxes, then I want to use the subtotal. So I'm going to get the sum of the subtotal as my value axis, my y-axis. The scale type here, you want this to be percent. And then the argument properties, this is your x-axis, your horizontal axis. And I want this to be the sales rep or owner. Okay. And I can leave these two as auto. So now I can see I've got a representation of my data over here, so I at least have something. Now here, I'm not sure. If I say ignore empty, I might get rid of some of these. They may be so small, that's why it's not showing. This is not necessarily accurate over here. It's just a preview, so don't panic if it doesn't look right, okay? All right, then the chart type, instead of a bar chart, I would like to make this a pie chart. And then I can see my legend over here. I can see my pie pieces. Enable labels means that it will have labels with it. Okay, I'm not going to select my top 5 records. Chart title would be 2018. Putting that 2018 means it's locked into 2018. So that's when I get over here to my filter. I need to make sure I do that. Legend, you can enable the legend or not enable the legend. For here, you definitely need it, or you can't tell what the pie pieces mean. Your legend orientation can be horizontal, like that, which I find difficult to read, or vertical. You can align it at the top or the bottom, and then you can also put it horizontally, right, center, or left. So if I wanted to move it over here, it could pop to the left, whatever way you want. And then you can choose a background color. You can choose for the legend, all of that. We're not going to get into all the fancy stuff today. Tooltip. This enables a tooltip that when you point to a pie piece, it will tell you the value. So even though I'm going to see the values, I thought, what the heck, I might as well add it. Appearance lets you pick colors. So you can choose what colors you want. Again, not worrying about it. Drill down. If I were to go to reports and create the same report for the percentage, then I could click here and select that report, and then it would, when you display the chart, you'd have a little drill down button. Then when you click on it, it will actually run the report. So you can create a report to go along with your chart if you want them separately, or you can create the chart in the report like we've already done. Okay, so data filter. I don't need a data filter here because we're going to base this on the order date. So we're going to assume that the order date means that it was indeed a sale. So I'm going to my time-based filter, and I'm going to select order date, and then again do my fixed date range because I don't want this to roll over. Okay, so I'm locking it in. And then when I click save, what will happen is this will save the chart with the name that's in the chart title. So if you know your chart title gives you enough information to say that this is for 2018, then you can click save. If you want to give it a slightly different name, then you can click save as. So I'm just going to click save, and I will now have my chart. So you can see the labels are here because I turned them on. If I point to here, that tooltip of that really kind of noxious blue pops up. Okay, so I probably could turn that off just because I have the labels here. But there's my chart. So again, relatively quick and easy to create. Once you've created this here, you can go to your home screen and go to chart indicators, and then just make sure you don't have more than 4 of these turned on. And I can turn on, here it is, sales by rep percentage 2018. That's the one that I just created. So it will be down here at the bottom. So there's my chart that I just created. So on your home screen, you may have up to 4 charts visible at a time and up to 4 key indicators. The key indicators, you cannot edit those or add to those, but the dashboards allow you to create your charts, and then they show up in this list for you. And then when you're viewing these here, you can view them in tile fashion, which might make it easier to see, or you can go back to the vertical mode. So dashboard down. I was also going to create another dashboard of accounts created in 2018 grouped by their industry or sector type. So again, let's go look at accounts so we know what we're looking at. I have a sector here, so this will be by the sector. So the first thing I'd want to do, again, is create a filter so I know what I'm going to get. And you guys are going to get tired of seeing this creation date for 2018. So I'm just going to look for all accounts that were created in 2018. So I have 13 of them. So that's what I should get in my report. Here are my dashboard, and here are my sectors that I'm going to pull in. All right, so let's go back to dashboards. All right, this one is going to pull from the accounts module. And the data series, my y-axis is going to be a function, and it's going to be a count of, probably you can do it by the account name. Most likely every account that you've added is a different name, so it's unique. So you can do that. And then the argument property is going to be the sector field, and we can leave that. So here I'm getting my sectors, and I'm getting a count of how many per different areas. Now, the chart type here, this is in a bar chart. Possibly another pie chart might work nicely with this because then you can see it more easily. So you can see your sectors, you can see how they're distributed. So let's go with a pie chart, and let's do, the legend will leave. Tooltip is turned on. Appearance, let's just choose something else just for kicks. That's a little brighter. And again, you could create a drill down report if you wanted to. You could filter out some sectors if you wanted to. or other things. So you could set a data filter there. But then our good old time filter again is creation date. All right. Save. And done. Down here, 2018 new accounts by sector. All righty. So that's 2 dashboards we've created, 2 reports we created. Talked about views. Now we're ready for the challenge one to go on to creating an Excel report. For the Excel report, what we're going to do is we're going to create one that's opportunities, 1 opportunities by the rep for 2018. Okay, so our filter is going to need to include the close date of 2018, not creation date this time, but a close date of 2018 and a sales stage of 1. I did create a view ahead of time to save us some time here. So this is 2018 1 opportunities. So I set a filter, close date with a fixed range, date range of 1/1 to 12/31/2018, and a stage equal to 1. Okay. Now, maybe I want to show you that one because everything else we've done so far has just been dates for the most part. So if I create an advanced search, when you're in advanced search, you have a form filter, standard filter, and a time filter tab. You can set criteria on any combination of these 3. So what I need to do is I want to pick the sales stage 1. I can do it on the form filter. Then I can go to my time filter and select my close date and put in my date range again. So you can, that advanced search gives you the capability of doing any kind of filter. Your standard filter here lets you select fields and do equal, you can do not equal, contains, not contains. So you have a lot more capabilities here on your logical comparison. So you may need to use your standard filter rather than your form filter. Or if I wanted to find the ones I won and the ones I lost, then I could do a standard filter saying that the stage is equal to 1 or the stage is equal to lost, and then I would get both here. So, play with these. The filters are what make all this work. So you're seeing the data that you want to see. And I think especially in your opportunities, you want to make sure these close dates are accurate in all your opportunities so that when you run these reports for the year end, you are getting a good, solid list of all the opportunities that you did indeed close. And you can see here the creation date of a lot of these is from, a long time ago because this is a sample database. So here, this one took 8 years, and so did that one. So that's a long time. But it's possible that could happen. So, put your fields up that you want to see and then make sure everything's filled in so that everything's accurate. Okay, so now off to the Excel reports. So with Excel reports, these are a little more complex. Once you get a sense of how they work, then you can explore them a little bit. I'll try to rush through these really quickly because I just got a new demo database actually just this morning that has some amazing Excel reports in it that give you an idea of what you can learn. And probably this is where I'm going to head in the next month or two of preparing some webinars that will teach you these ones that look really awesome. But for today, we're going to keep it pretty simple. So I'm going to create a new Excel report. Again, like your other reports module and the dashboards, you're going to associate it Well, here you're putting it with a folder. So you can save it in any folder. So if I put this in my webinar samples, which I'd already created, or you can create a new folder here. Then you give the report a name. And then I can put a description in here if I want it, and then save it. The source type is the opportunities module. And the source sheet name, I can call it anything I want. This is going to be the name of the sheet in the Excel report. Now, the difference between reports module and Excel reports is you can have multiple source sheets. So you can pull data in from quotes, from sales, from opportunities. You can pull all of that data into one report template, and then you can create formulas in the report that pull all that together. So that's why I say it gets more complex. But if you're really good at Excel, and once someone gets you launched, then you can figure things out. So I'm going to keep this one relatively simple here. I want the account name. I want the amount. I want the close date, because I'm using that in the filter. I want the owner, because that's what I'm grouping by. And maybe the stage. I don't think I'm going to use all these fields. So again, you pick the ones you want. That doesn't really matter what order these are in here for what we're going to do. I just tend to put the numbers at the far right. All right, then you can sort your columns, and I'm going to choose to sort them by the owner. I could subsort them by the account, but I don't really need to. And then the filter criteria, again, this is a 2018 report, so we want it to be a fixed date range. I want the stage is equal to 1. Now, if you have a stage and you're not exactly sure how it's spelled, then don't use equal, use contains, and type what you know, okay? So that's a little looser. If you are sitting here and you think, oh, I don't remember exactly how we spelled that sales stage, but I know it starts with this, then use contains. I do that almost all the time just because I never can remember what I've done. Okay, so now I'm going to click Save, and I have my source sheet created. So one source sheet. Now, if I wanted to add a new source sheet, like for sales or quotes, I would click New Source, and I would continue add additional source sheets, pull in the fields that I want, and set up the filters that I want. But I only want one, so I'm going to click the back button here. And now I have my template. What you have to do here is you have to download the template, which then allows you to modify it and create the pivot table and things that you want. Then once you've created the template, you save it and then you upload it again. So I'm going to try something here. I'm going to run this just as a straight report, okay? So you see what happens. You could do this. If you didn't want to do anything but run the report, you would do that. And when you come in, you got to enable the content and everything, because this is actually a macro-based Excel sheet. Notice that we're on a sheet 1 that's completely blank, but we have that opportunities tab that we said is the source sheet. So here's my data. So this is the data that has come into the report. If I run it with doing nothing else, I get this. So I have my fields, as I said, to come in the order in which I data to come in. Well, this is kind of boring. So what I want to do with this data is I want to create a pivot table and then a pivot chart. So I could create it on the same sheet here, or I can go back to this nice blank sheet and I can go to Insert, Pivot Table, and then it wants you to select a table range. So what you do, while this is clicked in here, you can simply go to your opportunities sheet and you want to select the range. Now, I could go right to here to the end of my data, but that fixes the range of cells to only 17 rows. What if the next time I run this report, I have 27 rows of data, okay? Then it will cut off the other 10 rows. So what you want to do here is you want to drag your range down as far as you think you might need. And some of you might need, 1,000 rows or 1,500 rows. So you go down as far as you think you need. You can even type it up here. Okay, so if you wanted to go out 1,000 rows, because that's how many you would need, then you have it. So you need to set that range. Okay, now we have the pivot table here, and we need to say, well, I want to bring my owner field into the row area. So there are my owners over here. And I want the amount field into the values. And when you drop it here, it should say sum of the amount. Okay? So I come over here now and I can see the numbers for each of my sales rep, and then I have this blank. Well, that's because of all the empty rows that are blank. So I want to get rid of them, and I click on my little filter here, and that gets rid of those. So I now have my pivot table. Now I want to create a chart based upon the pivot table. So here's a pivot chart. And then again, I get a bunch of different charts. I can choose what type chart I want. If I wanted a bar chart, pie chart, could do that. That might be nice to see. Or a column chart. So you pick what you want. You have different styles of the columns here that you can choose from. I'll just do a column chart. And then you click OK. So now I have my pivot chart. And it's showing me my values for my 3 people. And you can, one of the things you can do, notice the numbers are just formatted in general format. I just selected the whole sheet here. And I'll just do commas and then get rid of the decimal points. So I have whole numbers. That fixes that. Then here, if you don't want this total, because this is kind of useless, you can click on it and then just hit the delete key. And here, you can right-click and say Edit Text, and then you can put and include that 2018 in there. So you've got that. So you've got your template now, and your template then can be saved so that the next time you run your report, it'll automatically run. Now, because we built this with actual data in it, because we ran the report first, what we want to do before we save the template is come back here. Don't panic that it's blank. Go back up to the top. And then you can take your data and delete it. And see how your chart clears out. This is what you want. So now, if I do a save as, I can save it locally where I want it. Then I can close it. Now what I need to do is I need to go to the row action button here and upload the template. I downloaded it, I modified it, I saved it. Now I need to upload it back so Claritysoft knows to use it. And then Then I go find it right here, and it will tell me it's saved successfully. So now when I click on it, my report is going to run and include the pivot table and pivot chart, where before it just gave us the list. So that's a real quick into Excel reports. And we have just a couple of minutes left. We'll see this so you see that it did actually work. Enable editing. Enable content. There is my opportunity, and again my list shows up here like it did before, but now because my template included the chart and the table, it's there. So this is a very simple one. Now I will show you our graphics person, who is also wears many other hats, designed these, and they're amazing looking. So what she's done here, she has pulled in data from multiple data sources in the design of the template, and then she's created what she calls a dashboard here for each of these. But if you click on one of these, or you click down here on a tab, you see the data and then you see the chart. So she's done forecast, she's done the top 5 customers. So you can see this is pretty much what we built. She just managed to make it look a lot prettier in the dashboard. So all of these are here. Here are the top 5 products that were sold. So she's pulled these together. And I know these are the kinds of things that a lot of you want. So we'll be planning to show you how to create something like this in the next few months once we get into the new year, so that you can create some beautiful reports like this. So you can now see what things are possible. So she's got a pipeline report in the funnel, which I know a lot of people like. This is won and lost opportunities per month. So you can see which ones were won, how much you lost per month. Quota versus actual. And then this one is cool because this is sales by state. So she's pulled it in by state, the total sale, and then somehow, I don't even know how she got this to work. So you can tell by the color, the darkest color is the highest one. So some pretty exciting things that you can do with the Excel reports. Like I said, next couple of months, we'll pull a webinar together and have you creating some really cool reports like you just saw. So everyone have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas and New Year, and we'll see you again back in January. And with that, I shall sign off for the year. Bye-bye.